So with the new month comes a new Apple or refreshed product, and today we have the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and people are on a little bit of both sides. There's people who are really angry at Apple, saying that it's a waste of time. They're really disappointed, they're upset that it's not the 14-inch or that they're using really old hardware. And I want to say I got a little bit of inspiration from Dave2D, who made a video about this where kind of justifying Apple using older hardware in their laptops. And I kind of want to make my own perspective on it as well. And I can really categorize these two groups of people who are pretty upset as the 8th Gen-ers, who are people who are upset at Apple using older hardware. And then there's the 14-inch speculators who are upset that it's not the 14-inch MacBook Pro that they were expecting. And then later on in the video, I want to talk about the consumer and just the Apple MacBook lineup altogether. So hope you enjoy. Okay, so starting off with the 8th Gen-ers, which is what I'm going to call them. These are the people upset that Apple's still using older hardware in their computers in 2020. And I think Dave said it best in his video. When you are comparing the 8th Gen Intel chips to the newer 10th Gen chips, in terms of CPU performance, you're not going to see that much big of an improvement. But if you are looking in the graphical department, you do see a sizable difference. So a lot of my friends give me flack for using this MacBook Pro 2012 as my main laptop, or that I still use a 4th generation Intel chip in my computer with DDR3 RAM. And they ask me why I don't upgrade to Ryzen CPU or a newer Intel CPU, or why don't I get faster DDR4 memory. And it's because I don't really need that stuff right now, or yet, I should say, right? There's things that I do in my day-to-day that the computer and this laptop still do perfectly fine. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way and spend $2,000 so I can open up Facebook 2 seconds faster. And I have some of my friends that go out of their way and spend extra money because they say, oh, I need to have 8 cores over 4 cores, or I need to have DDR4 memory over DDR3 because it's the latest thing. And I always ask them, what do you need that stuff for? Like, what's wrong with your current device that it's incapable of doing what it needs to do? Say stuff like, oh, it's just not the latest. It's not the latest thing. And it's like, I understand it's not the latest, but if your device is still working perfectly fine, then there's no reason to go out of your way and make your computer obsolete just because in terms of specs on a spec sheet, yours is older. And I know there's a huge demographic of people who are upset that the new MacBook Pro doesn't have the Wi-Fi 6. And I'm really not sure why Apple didn't include it in their laptops yet, because I know the iPhone SE and the iPhone 11 have Wi-Fi 6, so that is beyond me of why it doesn't have it. So I want to go out and also say that I'm really glad Apple kept the 8th Gen chips for the MacBook Pro, because I think the biggest problem with recommending the old MacBook Pro was the butterfly switches and how unreliable they are. And now people can get the MacBook Pro with the new Magic Keyboard and other new features that they implemented and be satisfied with it at the same price. But if it's not enough power for you, and if you want to do more, let's say photo editing, coding, audio, you can get that 10th Gen Intel chip and it'll be a much better performer. Now, I'll have to wait till I get the device in hand to see if that's actually true for what Apple claims on their website. But it also is beneficial to people who do like the old school butterfly switch keyboards. You can go to the refurbished store, get it, and I believe you'll still get 90 days Apple Care Plus, and you can add on extra if you want to do that. So it's pretty much a win-win for everyone. Now I want to talk about the people who are also really angry, which are the 14-inchers and the speculators. And I do feel for you guys. You have every right to be mad. But at the same time, I don't feel as bad for you because you're setting yourself up for disappointment at the end of the day. There's a difference between leaks and rumors. A leak is something that has been disclosed to the public before its actual release with supporting evidence. And a rumor is more of just information floating around that people are speculating with no real evidence to support what they are finding. I think with the 14-inch, there's a lot of rumors of when it's coming out, but no one really knows an actual date. We don't even know exactly what's going to be inside this 14-inch. Like, is there really going to be mini LEDs? Is there going to be thinner bezels? We're going to have a high refresh rate. We're going to have a higher resolution. Is it going to have the ARM-based chips? It's like, we don't know for a fact. There's no real conclusive leaks that have come out and say, hey, these features are going to be in the new MacBook 14-inch. So Unfortunately, you guys are going to have to keep waiting patiently. I do feel bad for you guys, but if the 14-inch is something that you absolutely need, then your only option right now is to just wait patiently. And I also want to flip the coin a little bit and put yourself in Apple's shoes, because you can be mad at Apple, but I don't think Apple really cares, as much as that sounds hurtful. Let's say, for example, that it's Christmas time, right? And your sibling tells you, hey, mom and dad are gonna buy you this jacket that you really wanted. So leading up to Christmas Day, you have the assumption that you're gonna get this jacket in this present. So you open up the present labeled mom and dad, and what do you see? Socks and underwear. And like I said before, you have every right to be mad because you had the expectation that you're gonna get the jacket you always wanted. But your parents are a little bit confused because they never told you that they were going to get you this jacket. You tell them, well, so-and-so said that you're going to give me this jacket. And they say like, well, do they have any evidence? Basically just going based on what someone's words are of what you are expecting to get for your present. And I would say that's pretty much the rumor perspective. Now, a leak would be if your sibling saw your parents wrapping presents in their room and they saw that the jacket you always wanted was being wrapped up. They snapped a photo real quick, go to your room and say, hey, mom and dad bought you the jacket you always wanted. Here's a picture. That's a leak. So leading up to Christmas Day, you pretty much know what to expect. And when you open the present, you can be, fake happy or whatever. And, both parties, they're not as excited because they pretty much knew what was going to be expected because there was a leak. And I would just say you can be mad at Apple all you want, but they don't really care, as hurtful as that sounds. So the final thing I want to talk about is the consumer and the MacBook lineup altogether, because I think it is a little bit confusing right now. So the MacBook Air versus the Pro. If you're afraid of your MacBook overheating, or you need to focus on CPU intensive tasks at longer durations, then your option should probably just be to look into the MacBook Pro 13-inch. But if you do need that extra horsepower in terms of the graphical department, you might want to consider the 10th gen, but I would say wait for now till real world usage comes out. Just don't base your opinions on what you see on Apple's website claiming there's like 80 to 70% performance. So here are the two problems for the consumer in the MacBook lineup. Is the consumer, in terms of macOS on a laptop, Apple is the only one who makes that. So if you don't like what they put out this year, for example, if you don't like the refresh that Apple put out for the MacBook 13-inch, you pretty much just have to wait till next year and hope that it's something that you want. Versus on the Windows side, if you don't like Asus, what they made that year, you can go to Lenovo, or you can go to Dell, or you can go to Acer or Razer, etc., etc. In terms of the macOS, you can't really do that. You're pretty much stuck with Apple. And that's one of the biggest disadvantages if you are reliant on macOS and you value portability. So that's just one of the things that comes with being inside the Apple bubble or ecosystem. You really are stuck with whatever Apple puts out, and you're at the mercy of whatever Apple thinks is innovative that year. And the bigger problem I see with the whole laptop and MacBook lineup is, for one, the MacBook Pro and the Air in terms of price are too close when you start speccing them out. And I think it really confuses the consumer on what they should get. I think most people think that, oh, if I'm building up this Air, but it's pretty much the same price as a low value or entry level MacBook Pro, should I get that? So here's my recommendation for Apple. I think what should happen is the Air should just go away and your refresh MacBook Pro should be the new Air. I think with things that are happening right now in terms of the industries, that people kind of do need that extra horsepower in college, and people asking, is this computer good for coding and whatnot? I think you can capture a wider target audience with this MacBook Pro as your new Air. And then your mid-level MacBook Pro can have a dedicated GPU, a stronger processor. That way people can know that, oh, if you need the Pro, that you're definitely doing more graphical or just more computational work. And then you have your higher range MacBook Pro, which will be the 16-inch with a desktop grade CPU inside, much powerful CPU, or a much more powerful GPU, and that one's going to be obviously much more expensive. And I think that can kind of help people understand which MacBook they should get, because right now it is confusing, as well as the iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard, because the MacBook Pro is a really good, compelling product. And I think that with the iPad thrown in the mix, it only makes it an even harder decision for people to make. So that's my recommendation for Apple in terms of helping their business model. If they're watching this, hit me up, send me an email. That's pretty much my opinion on the new MacBook Pro. I think it is a very good product now for majority of people. If you like the content, please make sure to subscribe. Pretty close to 1,000, would really appreciate it. It does help the channel grow. Leave a like, share with your friends, and have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. And as always, guys, much love.